Kia ora, this program is brought to you by Wellington Access Radio. Wellington Access Radio, make your voice heard.
Kia ora everyone, you are listening to Voice of Aroha on frequency 106.1 FM from Wellington, New Zealand. The show is sponsored by Host International NZ, also is broadcasting on Access Radio. Joining me in the studio today is my co-host Beth.
Hey guys.
And we also have our lovely guests. We have Ruth Prentice and we have Afnan Rabai. Hi guys.
Hello.
How you doing? How you feeling?
Good, great. Quite excited to talk to you about this exciting event that we're having very soon.
Yep, they're going to be here to promote the event for the 21st of March. If you don't know, it's the International Day for the Elimination of Racial Discrimination. Very long, hefty title. So tell us about yourselves. Who are you? What do you do?
Okay, so, well, my name is Afnan Arabai. I wear a few hats, you could say, but I think the biggest hat that comes into play here is that I'm a community advocate, so especially in reference to the refugee and migrant background communities, but also a youth advocate. So I came into this project early November, I would say, when the lovely Catherine Woolrich and Sakari DeMello started this group, so talking about the event, originally sort of aiming towards the 15th of March, a year on from the very devastating day that we had last year, and how far we've come across that field of talking about sort of racial discrimination and whatever caused the issue in the first place. So, but then the sort of event took, or the meeting or the hui's that we went to took a different turn, and we decided to sort of create an event that would fall on the 21st of March, which is basically tackling the main issue that a lot of these sort of hate crimes, as you would say, take place or get...
where it stems from.
So where it stems from, exactly. Yeah. Thanks, Ruth. But basically, so we decided to actually hold it on the 21st of March, which, as you said, is a very hefty title, so I won't repeat that. But Yes, so it's a community-led event. We have finally come up with a name for our little group,
Yes,
which
we're
is
very
not
excited about that name.
yes. So it's not registered yet as an organisation as such, but we are called Unity in Community, and we're a collective of community members who come together basically to talk about very hard issues that people sort of stray away from or don't think that are comfortable enough, is comfortable enough to talk about and tackle. So, Ruth.
Yes, so I have been involved in various NGOs working in the refugee migrant space over the last few years. Currently working with Amnesty. My main motivation is very much collaborating with organisations that do want to progress positive change. This event is very much about creating unity across all levels of society. I think what happened last year shocked a lot of New Zealanders. They didn't realise such things could happen here. Another lovely thing about this event is it's taking place exactly a year on from the day when people from across Wellington came to the Kilbirnie Mosque and formed a human chain around the mosque on that Friday, the following Friday from the attack.
Yeah, it was an amazing sight.
To stand in solidarity with the Muslim community that wanted to go back into the mosque and pray. It was really beautiful. So exactly a year on, this is an opportunity for those same people perhaps to reflect on what they've done. Have they actually made any changes in their life? Are they aware of what's still going on, the reality for some people? So to come inside the mosque and actually hear from some people who do experience and have experienced racism on a daily basis throughout their lives. So actually to understand a bit more fully what it means to experience racism, to have their eyes open, to be curious, to think, well, what could we do? Because it's all levels of society that needs to address this. So we're really all about wanting to create some safe spaces to have some really difficult conversations and uncover some perhaps really uncomfortable truths that a lot of Kiwis may find hard to stomach. But if they're willing to engage, then I think the rewards of creating more connected, more unified society will be huge. So, yeah.
Just want to ask you guys, what made you want to get into this and into advocacy in general within communities?
Well, for myself, coming from a refugee background myself, I think having or experiencing firsthand sort of situations in racial discrimination or any discrimination of that sort actually really pushes me to give a different, sort of shed a different light on being a refugee. So a lot of people can either see that as let's say, not a strength for you, or I'm sorry.
Sometimes, sometimes they feel ashamed of it.
So some people can make you feel that you're not worthy of a certain, position because you're a refugee. And I think I work really hard to prove that wrong as much as I can. But also there are a lot of people that kind of, brush over their shoulder and sort of under the table their experiences that they go through of being discriminated against. And I think it's just not right. I think it needs to be spoken about. And if I'm not going to do it, I don't feel like, or, if we're not going to do it as a community, collectively, as a diverse community, no one's going to really do that for us. And I think there's a market out there to really speak about these uncomfortable sort of conversations about racial discrimination and being proud and of who you are, really, having identity loss because, you need to, or you feel the need to sort of blend in to certain communities because that's the only way that you're going to be accepted. And I think that's just really unfair, and it's up to us, the people that have a voice and that can get their voice reached, to really get that message out there that it is okay to talk about your experiences, and it is okay to hold people accountable to that. So I think this event will really bring in diverse communities and different people that have experienced this or haven't or don't know anything about racial discrimination to really come and ask the hard questions and maybe hear some stories. And yes, it will be emotional and it will be hard, but I think it is much needed
it's
for our
important
community.
because unfortunately people, just because it's an uncomfortable conversation, they avoid it as much as they can.
Exactly.
And that doesn't benefit anybody. It's only going to do more harm, and brushing it away isn't going to make the problem go away.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about you, Ruth?
For me, well, I'm a migrant, but perhaps an easier time I've had coming from England, so language and culture was very similar.
Yeah.
But I don't have family here. I've got my own family now, but I've sort of had to create my own networks, and that's been hard at times, and to feel that you're not rooted here has been difficult. So I relate to that aspect, and I think I got drawn into this space when the Syrian crisis really hit home, and I think that's when, as New Zealanders, there was a campaign out there. I spent time with Murdoch Stevens on doubling the quota campaign. Being on the other side of the world from home at that stage, I was very aware that places that I'd visited as a child and gone to as holidays were sort of were a very different, a very different landscape, and I was horrified and felt very distant. So this was a way to connect with what was going on in the world. And the more I've become involved in that space, it's been very rewarding, getting to know people from different cultures, but I can see the difficulties and the hardships and the unnecessary hardships and barriers that exist, and that we all live in silos. And so my drive is always, and my motivation is to try and break down those silos and give different communities an opportunity to come together.
Do you think people have become a lot more desensitized to these kinds of issues, whether it's like wars in different countries or experiencing racism here locally? Do you think, it's just become our new norm? Or
Well, I think for a lot of people, they don't experience racism. So my hope is on this day that those people that came last year to the human chain, that shared all that aroha, that brought flowers, might stop and think, well, what else could I do now, a year on? Because there are sectors of society that still suffer enormously. There are still threats in the news today. We hear of...
Yeah, so just the other day there was, I read the article talking about, there was a man who was just outside the El Nur Mosque, which was a target.
Exactly.
During the 15th of March.
Exactly.
Who, I don't know, I think he was like, he just had parked in front.
Yes. And
took a photo and posted like this encrypted message on Telegram.
Exactly.
With like the emoji of like a gun or something, or saying they're not going to be coming back. These people saying hi to each other.
We have.
And it was terrifying reading that, because 15th of March is only coming closer, and you feel like, is there going to be
that's
something
one
else?
person, exactly.
And that's one person, but the fact that he's able to do that is very scary, and you're wondering, are our officials taking the right steps to keep people safe? Like there should, as closer as we get to March 15th, there should be more security around mosques. There should be visible police presence outside there.
And this event is very much about, we do want to reflect on that, but we want to look at racism in all different communities. And we have Shane Jones today, the news about his racist comments about Indian students. So when our politicians, when our ministers...
And that's not his first instant. He has a whole...
I think these words are they create a lot of harm that is unknown, and if you're not the recipient, if it's not your community, then it doesn't affect you. So it's really a day about taking the lid off these issues and trying to give people who don't perhaps think about these things and aren't aware of the prevalence of it and how common it is in certain areas, that they have an opportunity to be confronted by that and to think, well, what can we all do to call it out, to be brave enough to call out when things aren't okay, and to give people some tools and some progress towards working together to make sure that we do create a more harmonious, connected society.
That's the thing I really liked about this event. Also, shout out to Catherine, who was here, one of our earlier guests. She told us about this, and the thing I liked about it was there's real effort to involve members of the community. We had a conversation actually with Catherine talking about how these community leaders aren't always going to represent your community the best way they can, especially people who have been doing it for a while. I think for some reason there's like this pattern where people start getting desensitized and they don't really work for the community itself,
yes.
you know?
Yes.
And she made it a point to involve just like people from the community itself, and promoting it. And like you guys had that hui, where you can just come and hear what you guys have been up to, and how you can get involved. And I really like that because it shows there actually is effort into making it really diverse, and it's about racism in general. Yeah. And there are so many communities, so many minority communities here who suffer that and need that addressed and need to hold people to account and feel comfortable to have these conversations.
Yeah, correct. And I also feel like a lot of people, like you said, get desensitized, but also sort of diminish the effectiveness of actually having, you know, just even casual racism, which a lot of people don't address a lot of the time. You know, I went from, you know, a few different workplaces where you'd get casual racism here and there.
You brush it off.
And you do, and you learn to become immune to it, and you become, you know, you brush it off like you said, and you don't really think about it, or you say, you know, it's okay, it's only, you know, if I can laugh at it and this is, you know, it's okay, I'll take it as a joke. But really, it sticks with you and it becomes this mental issue, an emotional sort of war that you have with yourself, because you shouldn't be in a position where you have to accept such racism or such comments, even if it was casual or, you know, or close friends, you know, make it as a joke to you and sort of diminish the effect of that and the damage that it could cause to you. So I think this is the perfect, I feel, event because it's so community based. And I think a lot of people, you know, different people will be there. It's a family-friendly event as well, so we'll have kids' activities as well for the kids. And then they are hard conversations, but they need to be had, because if we're so sheltered in New Zealand and a lot of people are shocked on what happened, and, you know, this is kind of like the daily life for most of us, refugees and migrants.
You always say that I was so surprised of this happening, or you know, I couldn't believe. It's like, but we could believe it. We know.
Yeah, exactly.
I think also like subconsciously, we just like, I think that's also passed down from like our parents. We feel like just because we got an opportunity to come and like live in this country, that like having like racial discrimination towards us is like a little like
it's a given
tax that like we have to pay.
And
like I feel,
that's exactly like, how it feels.
And I feel like it's kind of like, oh yeah, you know, but we give them so much like, you know,
power.
Yeah, and also a lot of excuses like, oh, it's because they don't understand us. Yeah, I think like racism is caused by lack of understanding, but I feel like the country doesn't make it a priority to understand us.
Well, that's right. Yeah, because I feel like if we're expected, like you kind of, you know, saying there, if we're expected to learn about the Kiwi culture, and I honestly pride myself in that. I've been here since 2003 and I am quite a Kiwi myself. If we're expected to learn about that culture and sort of mingle in with the community, then I feel that it's only fair enough to ask the people that don't understand about different cultures and different religions that are really, you know, I mean, New Zealand, how multicultural can you be of a country? I think New Zealand is a prime example of that. I think other people are expected to learn a little bit about their fellow Kiwis that are living here and are really making a life. You've got refugee and migrant, very successful people. They're starting their own businesses, buying their own houses, they're running their own companies. What more does a refugee or a migrant?
What they say to us is that you're taking their jobs.
Yes. Well,
I think it requires all of society to be curious about about and being with difference.
Yeah.
I have an autistic daughter, and we experience discrimination on a daily basis trying to get an education, and it's just it's kind of the inclusive education doesn't actually really exist when
it's just on paper, just to promote the school.
Exactly.
So I think we all just need to be curious and extend sort of an acceptance to difference and work out how to be and communicate with difference. And then we all benefit. You know, everybody comes out much richer and more cohesive, and there's a sort of inseparability to everything. If we can't do that, then bad stuff does happen, and things disintegrate for everybody. So it affects everybody. I think the other area that we really want to cover in this event is discrimination against Indigenous communities. And we're very excited to have Renee Mahi, who sadly has returned, well, she's not sadly, but she's already back in Canada after her court case where she called Bob Jones out for his very discriminatory sort of supposed funny writings that he made. So that's been a huge ordeal for her. I think the Wellingtonians that went and supported her in the court were sort of in awe of her mana and messages, and she is going to be contributing to the event. She's very interested in the work that we're doing. Following on from the court case, which did get dropped, she wants to continue the work, the conversations around racism.
That's great.
I think there was hope that there might be some legislation around what defines racism. So she'll be contributing a video to the event that we'll all be able to listen to. And Tamitha Paul, our wonderful new local councillor, will be emceeing the issues out of that and shedding some more light with her lived experience around growing up as Wahine Maori. So that's a very important theme that we want to cover on the day. So again,
do you guys want to give us a full layout of how the event is going to look like on the day?
Yeah, sure. So the event will be at the local Kilburnie Mosque. It will run from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. So as I said before, it's a family-friendly event. Basically, we will be hearing, like Ruth mentioned, from Renee. Tamitha Paul will be there sort of emceeing as well and talking about facilitating the video as it's been shown. We'll be hearing from Paul Hunt, our Human Rights Commissioner, and Nadia Abu-Shanab, if everybody remembers her from the Basin Reserve visual.
How could you forget her speech?
Exactly, right. It was very, very moving. And I think her point of view is very important here because families think it's such a hard topic to sort of talk about to your kids and oh no, we can't, sort of bring these, tough issues into our homes. And actually, if you start having that knowledge as a child, then I think life will be a lot easier for refugee and migrant background youth in schools as well.
And a reminder that racism is taught. Kids don't just come from the womb being racist. What if they ever?
It's almost like a culture that you sort of like inherit
from your parents, from your families. Yeah.
Exactly, from your community and whoever's around you in that age. So she'll be speaking from a teacher's perspective and how that could have an effect on children per se. But basically, this event will provide a launch pad to network and connect with others who want to be involved in taking forward what comes out of these sessions. So we'll have speeches in the beginning, and then after the speeches we'll sort of have breakout sessions, and there'll be facilitated conversations as well, where we are teaming with I think their name is Ara Taihoi. So they're launching on the 13th actually at a Shakti event in Parliament. And then after that we'll be having some time out for the prayer at the mosque, and then we will have food and fun activities for kids, and it'll be a fantastic day, I think.
And I think key to the event at the end is we're having a plenary session with local MPs, ministers including Grant Robinson, local councillors, and our hope is that the issues that are raised from these facilitated conversations are fed back into that session, and accountability of who can take forward the issues and the ongoing work. So we see this as very much the launch pad for ongoing work and initiatives, and we will be having follow-ups and creating a network of people that want to be involved in progressing positive change around eliminating racial discrimination.
Great, it's not just like you said, Grant Robertson from Labour, Nicola Wilson will also be there from National, and hopefully not yet confirmed, but a few more MPs and local councillors as well that will be involved in that. So we'll have sort of an amazing day. But I think what we collectively want to collect from that at the end is sort of the questions and the sort of feedback that the communities have, whether they weren't knowledgeable enough about what is going on, what questions they might have for future sort of projects to try and eliminate as much as we can from that stigma, and then take that back and sort of hopefully this is the start to our new continuous sort of conversation that we need to be having, and hopefully we can promote more positive change.
Yeah, it's very important also to have those communities who don't experience racism to hear these conversations.
Absolutely. That's why we really want to promote this event sort of in other space as well, to bring it's not just about people who experience it. That would be a sort of wasted
because when you're addressing when you're addressing racism, I feel like it takes more than just the community alone to take it far. I feel like you need people that can provide different resources, different from different places that come in and can kind of take it to different places, like policy making and all these kind of things, to actually take it far. So I think, like, when we're thinking about organizing events, I think we need to be mindful of like bringing new people who can like contribute different ideas.
Absolutely. I think another area that we're very aware of in this space is mental health aspects of the impact of living day in day out with potential racism, and so we're thinking there will be a big mental health aspect to this, and we're really welcoming anybody working in that space to please come and engage with us as well.
Where can people find more information about this event?
Right,
we've got a Facebook event.
Yes, we have. So we've got a Facebook event that's live.
We've shared it on Voice of Aroha. If you want to go on the Facebook page.
And Instagram?
So Instagram, it's still in the making, because we're still a baby organisation, and we're trying to see that up. Exactly. But so the event is actually called Aroha Mai Aroha Atu, Wellington Islamic Community / Kilburnie Mosque. That's the address of the event, but the public event is by Community Building Organising Team, which is now called Unity and Community. So you can find that on Facebook. We do have phantom stickers that have been out, and I haven't seen any yet.
I've seen them. I was just about to actually send it to the group. I saw it in Lambton Key.
Oh my god! So
I didn't even know the posters that I didn't know they were up.
Yeah,
I was like so excited.
I know.
Yeah, it's so cool.
It's really, really, really exciting.
Okay.
So basically,
thank you guys both for coming here and sharing more about the event. It was great having you.
Thank you.
We're looking forward to being there, and I hope everyone shows up.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you.
عشقا زيديني يا أحلى نوبات جنون زيديني وزيديني عشقا زيديني يا أحلى نوبات جنون زيديني زيديني غرقا يا سيدتي إن البحر يناديني زيديني موتا على الموت إذا يقتلني يحييني
زيديني عشقا زيديني يا أحلى نوبات جنون زيديني زيديني عشقا زيديني يا أحلى نوبات جنون زيديني
ويا امرأة بين نساء الكون أحبيني ويا من أحببتك حتى احترق الحب أحبيني يا أحلى امرأة بين نساء الكون أحبيني ويا من أحببتك حتى احترق الحب أحبيني إن كنت تريدين السكنة أسكنتك في ضوء عيوني يا أحلى امرأة بين نساء الكون أحبيني ويا من أحببتك حتى احترق الحب أحبيني إن كنت تريدين السكنة أسكنتك في ضوء عيوني وحبك خارطتي حبك خارطتي ما عادت خارطة العالم تعنيني وحبك خارطتي حبك خارطتي ما عادت خارطة العالم تعنيني أنا أقدم عاصمة للحزن وجرحي نقش الفرعون وجعي يمتد كسرب حمام من بغداد إلى الصين.
Welcome back to Voice of Aroha, guys. Joining us now, we have Juan and Cordrian. Welcome, guys.
Hello, thank you.
We missed you for the first half. So what are you guys' thoughts on the event?
Yeah, I think it's very interesting. It's a very interesting event, and it's really needed to be done. And hopefully will be some actions coming through this event. So there is a lot of work, a lot of talk, like about least actions. So hopefully will be good actions from this year, and we learn lessons and we take them from there. And like the Maori saying, least what they say, least hui, more dui.
Oh, I like that.
Least hui, more dui.
Yeah. I'm quite interested in how they're gonna play. How is the event going to be made? Because she talked that she'd say that the event was going to be separated into rooms, and you go to each room and you listen to a different story. So I'm kind of interested in how that is going to be arranged.
Yeah, because since there's going to be a range of different speakers, I think there would be like a room for like a teacher's perspective and like discrimination in the education place. And another one from like an institution perspective where they'll have the Human Rights Commissioner, Paul Hunt, and they might have Grant Robertson there, where, they would, we could talk about like what it is that they can do after leaving this event, because that's the important thing, is not just having this and all of us being there and repeating what we're always saying, but that these people are coming together and they're going to be able to take away something, to gain a new perspective, to hear these stories that otherwise they would not listen to, and have something to take away and bring on the action.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a really powerful event, because it's going to be people from different places with different experiences and qualifications and stuff. So I feel like, as opposed to just having an event with just involving the community, this would be like, you just never know the outcome.
Yeah.
And I feel like there would be a lot of outcomes and actions after this.
And one thing also make me more interesting to me, like I saw a good number of people who are involving to organize this event. A lot of people are involved, a lot of organizations and communities.
That's why I think it has a lot of potential to be successful, because it's not just one organization.
Yes.
As you said, it's a collaborative effort from a lot of people and just normal community members.
Yes, so that's the fantastic thing and interesting to see the amount of people who are open and to start work and do some stuff, some good stuff, to eliminate something called discrimination. And so that's on 21st of March, right?
Yeah.
And what
11
time?
o'clock to 3 at the Kilbirnie Mosque.
That's great. So we would encourage all our listeners also to attend this event.
Yeah, check out our Facebook page. We've shared their event. So go click that you're going, hopefully.
And
you are interested.
Yeah, and also we may also we will be there, Voice of Aroha team will be sure there, and we can meet you if you are coming.
Yeah, I'd love to interview people and
if you want signatures,
what?
Yeah. But What do you think, guys, about International Day of Discriminations? Like, what's your thought about this day?
I think when I first heard about the event and just looking at the poster and the name, I thought it was a really broad and big kind of topic to just say elimination of racism, because a lot of times racism is really mistaken for a lot of things. People don't really understand what racism is. People don't think certain things are racist, like micro-racism or little comments and all degrading things. They don't really. So I think it's a really broad way to you can't eliminate racism.
Yeah, I think when you look at it from the outside, it seems like a very obviously kind of naive title.
Yeah, but I think it's really powerful as well. Even it gives hope to people that it's actually possible, because people just look at racism as something that's always going to exist, and certain people experience that, victims of it, and they have to kind of live with it. But looking at it as something that can be eliminated.
Yeah, I never actually even thought of it in such a broad way. My kind of thought space would always be, how do we kind of eliminate it in this space? How do you go to the space without having to face that kind of discrimination? I've never gone further, to even believe that it could be eliminated completely.
Yeah, and it's also really interesting. It's come on a time that it's memories of the Christchurch attack. And also you can see in this year there's another type that we have talked already last week about discriminations about this virus of coronavirus to Asian people or other people who are affected. So I think it will be a powerful event, and there's a good day to talk. But I hope that after that there could be more actions.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a good opportunity to be able to hold people to account, because, they're the ones that can make the big change. And
I think as a community we need to be specific about what we want out of, the government and all these people that are in power. So they have big influence and big platforms. So we need to be specific in a ways that we want elimination of racism, but this is how we want it to be approached. And I think a good way to do that is putting us in the upfront, using our voice,
including people who have faced it.
Yes, because everyone have a different experience with this one, right?
And not even just that, I'm also very happy and hopeful that actually turns out this way, where a lot of different migrant and refugee background people will be there, or just people of color in general, because there's kind of internalized racism where a minority group will be racist to another, a minority group, where we have these cultural norms where it's oh, you can say this, you can say that, when really no, that's racism. And it's not just about the white and people of color perspective, it's also people of color on people of color. And I really hope that also changes, or we can open our mind and see how other people are affected by the things that we say, because and also there needs to be real accountability for racism. I feel there needs to be a bill or some kind of especially with hate speech, it needs to be defined.
Yeah, so I think when you're experiencing racism as a young person or just anyone, what do you do next? You can complain about it, you can call it out, but there's no real accountability for it. So I think that's another conversation that needs to be had, is when young people and people are experiencing racism, what could they do? Who could they bring this to as well?
Sometimes you also feel oh, there's no point, why would I, come forward with this? I think, a while ago, it's been a while now where I got these messages on WhatsApp from someone I don't even know, who was, I think, in a whole different country, who sent, an image of, a child holding a gun and saying some things about, terrorism or anything, something about, Muslims. And I was, so shocked. And I was do I send this to the police? Should I be scared? Is this something... Why is this person trying to intimidate me when I don't even know them? Yeah. And you always have this at the back of your head. It's should I even mention it? Is it normal? Oh, just brush it away. But then that's when you start feeling scared. And as 15th of March gets closer, you do worry. And even, when your friends and family who are visibly Muslim going out, you do worry for them, and you're like, what are they going to come home safe today? Is somebody going to give them that snarky remark, going to make them feel uncomfortable and unsafe? And just as a younger generation, you always worry about, it's like you can handle this, like I can handle it,
definitely.
I don't really. But then for people who are older than you, whether it's like your family or your friends, you really worry about them.
Yeah, just also thinking about like having kids, like the next generation, what like environment are you bringing them into, I think we kind of have learned to live with it, but I think like the fact that like we also like the next generation will be experiencing similar things is just not acceptable. And I feel like there's a culture in New Zealand of like a lot of like micro-racism, small comments, small jokes that just is seen as acceptable. And I feel like that culture needs to be called out. Racism does exist in New Zealand, There's a lot of people that say it doesn't, but it does exist.
And we keep voicing this, and I don't know how much longer we need to keep voicing it until people stop, acting like it's such a shock and such a surprise when something goes wrong. Because if you allow these comments and you allow these interactions to continue happening, something harmful is definitely going to come up along the way.
Yeah, and it's really like needed to. We define that racism, but everyone could be faced that racism. So even white by white people could face that racism type. So everyone should be stand up. Like when we are talking about subjects such as this, I think some people think, it's just those people who are different than me. Like people, let's say, if white people say, no, this racism topic is just belong to other people, minorities or other backgrounds. But while no, if the reality is belong to him too, or belong to that community too, they need to stand up first before other communities to say racism, hate, all this is not okay.
Are you saying that white people need to come forward and stand up for people of color who face racism?
They stand up for just norm, for something for everyone.
Yeah.
Because when they are saying, we are saying standing for people of color, but the racism is affecting everyone.
I think but it's important to distinguish that it's an institutional and systemic thing as well. Like if let's say a white person have some sort of remark, it's not going to affect them the way a white person may make a comment about like a black person or a Muslim person, you know what I mean? Because they have that power, they have that majority, and they have that power in government and in many, many spaces, it's a thing that's existed for a very long time. It's going to take a long time to be able to dismantle that. While like,
Yeah, but I'm talking like it's in general. We have everyone should stand like as a human being.
Yeah.
So I don't call it a human race because we are one race. We don't have a human race. It's one race. We saw some people we are different race. Like we have they define the black people different race than the white people. No, we are human race, one race. And why I'm saying to stand everyone, because maybe the other person, where I'm saying the white community, could face racism in other country and other things. So this is not a matter about majority or minority. It's a matter of mentality. You use the healthy mentality everywhere you are. Because maybe I faced a lot of discrimination and racism in the place where I come from. But when I step here, I thought that it's a place of freedom to talk now and the voice. That's why now today we are appreciating that we are talking, but we are facing different type of racism in this country. So we have to think. Some people think we are struggling twice. We are struggling in the journey where we come from. Then where we thought that this is a land of freedom and things, then we are struggling facing some other issues that's happening to our life. But the good things, there's always good hearts. That's how we saw all the New Zealand communities, how they stand against the terrorist attack of Christchurch attack. Everyone, all the communities, they stand together. They say, this is not us. And that's why I love New Zealand, because this is not us. And when we are saying this, because we are all one in New Zealand, no matter what color you are, no matter what ethnicity you come, we are all New Zealanders. And but this topic, it's reality. It exists in every community. Community by themselves exists. Like Narjis mentioned, even between minorities, like these communities, they are racist to other minorities, things. And the bigger this subject is have a huge history in New Zealand with the original people, with the Maori people of the land. So we need to discuss it, need to find a solution. So, like if we are doing or workshops and discussions and talks about these subjects, even today that we are talking about, I think is good to make the voices to those people who are in officials in high decision making to listen and make a real change and real actions. So it's 2020. Until when we will keep talking about these subjects? Why we are not talking about making International Day for sharing same?
I think the only way that we're going to progress from this issue is recognizing differences. Like, we need to recognize that they're different people, you know? I think it's a very idealistic way to look at people as just one human race, because human is not a race. Like, they're different kind of races. But I think we just need to be, I think as humans, we just don't accept things that are like different from us. So when we see something that's different, we automatically go, oh, I don't understand you. Therefore, I'm just not gonna accept you into my space and my environment. So I think we just need to make space for people that are like different from us, to recognize that people are different, but that's the reality, you know? Like, I want you to recognize that you know, from Africa, I'm African like woman, you know? I don't want you to just see me as another human, because there's nothing wrong with being, you know, where I'm from. So I think there just needs to be just recognizing that like different people that live with different cultures, but you need to embrace it, not just not just tolerate it, but embrace it and celebrate it, you know? Yes. And that's where I think that's one thing that people struggle with, is celebrating differences and not being scared. Because
ideally, obviously, like, we are all, you know, all like we're humanity.
It's human. I think it's one race, human race. It's race.
That's species. That's not a race.
No. Listen, of course we are all one. We're all humans, right?
There's no such a
but
thing
let's
as
dig
human
deeper,
race.
okay? Let's dig a little deeper. We are obviously all humans, but we all come from different places.
Do you agree that we are different races?
Yeah, we've come from different races.
We're the same species. We're the same species, but we come from different places.
Yeah.
Okay, can I tell you something? Who teach that we are different races? Who tells us?
White people.
Okay, without
white people.
Okay, then why you believe it?
Okay, here's the thing. Obviously, it was race did. You know, we've been in history classes. We've heard about how it's a social construct, right? But since it's there, and since it has started, you know, deeply, deeply affecting people who are of color, we need to recognize that, and just, you know, we can't just quickly jump the gun and be like, oh no, we're all like, you know, we're all the same, because then what that does is it eliminates our individual and our community experiences. At the end of the day, yes, we are the same, but we do come from different places with different experiences. And then coming here, a white person and me do not have the same experiences. Them going for a job and me going for a job isn't the same experience. Them at school, me at school, and so on. Like, no matter what, I think we need to obviously always address this. And it always does come back down to the assimilation and integration. We don't have to just say we're all one. We're all like simply just Kiwis. I should be able to say I'm this, and this. I shouldn't have to feel like I have to become sort of invisible to kind of assimilate with the rest of the human race.
I think with the whole social construct thing, right? Yeah, things are like, take away the social construct, take away, you know, the African label of, like, you know, African people. They're still going to be African. It's just there's no that social,
when
there's no label.
When they say they're part of the human race, that doesn't change the fact that they're still faced with crazy racism, you know what I mean?
What was my idea is, we are a human race, but we came from different cultures and traditions.
But human is not a race.
Who teach you that? Why not? Because there is not... look, they teach us that the black is different race than the white race. This is wrong. It's just the color. This is not a race. They teach us these things in the history and all this system. So you grow up and systematically you find this a different race. So why you not teach? Look, take this example. Teach the children, don't tell them this is white and black when they grow up. Teach them that this one race, human race, what will happen to the generation, it will define one human race. That's all. But they teach us when we are kids, this is black, this is white, this is Asian, this is this. We are
I think
not.
there's no issue with that because you are identifying them as who they are. The issue is when they go further and you discriminate because I see what you're trying to say. I see I see the foundations of what you're trying to say, and ideally that would be great. But we do live in a world where even if you do that, and even if you live that way, that discrimination is still going to exist until those people in power deconstruct it. We can't do it ourselves by just saying, I'm just a human, because I am a human, of course, but when you look at me, you're going to see something different.
Who are these people in the power? Because the time has changed. It's all about we need to teach the generations. It's your generations. It's your children's. You need to find a way how to raise them.
Yeah.
So
and that's why I'm really hoping people
things,
from schools come to this event, because teachers need to be able to have these conversations with kids too. And when they see kids being discriminated against, first, obviously, teach the person who's discriminating that this is not okay. That you, as you are saying, you're all still humans, and the victim, who we don't want them growing up like a kid growing up feeling less than because they were discriminated against at school.
So, what do you think, Juan? What do you think about?
No, it's a very big topic. I think you both are saying the right things.
Classic.
No, it's
I think we are on the same page.
I think we have different ways of delivering it.
Yeah. So maybe I will just summarize it like we're one human race, but we come from different backgrounds and cultures.
That's what we're saying
it's accepting,
too.
We need to accept the cultures and backgrounds where we come from. So that's culture and background is like African culture and traditions and colors. That's something human bring with this part of this land with them. Okay, but it's not different. He's a human, I'm a human. His culture is different. That's right. I will agree. We are different in culture. Totally, there is totally different cultures. Sometimes we don't have things in common. Sometimes we have. But I never agree. Is my personal opinion that we are different human race. I see we are all one race, one human. That's the thing where we come from, but we are different in culture and traditions
and experience.
Also, like at schools, like going to be conscious of like what you're teaching. For example, like in our school, like when we taught like history about like any Black history, it's always about links back to slavery. And the thing is like Black history didn't start from slavery. Like before slavery, there were like royalty. There were just like more things that like weren't linked to being slaves. So I think the only example of like African history or Black history that students have with slavery. So they're going to associate like Black people to slavery, even though that's not our only history. So I think
we need to change that.
Yeah, so I think like even like teachers at school, we need to make sure that students are like educated on the different kind of people that surround them, the people that they go to school with, like where they come from. Because if you don't, like lack of understanding, like brings ignorance, and
that's really powerful.
And on that note, we've come to the end of our session.
Wow, that was fast.
We're bringing you dinner one.
Yeah, I'll probably come back again for another topic.
It's not this one. Do you want to close this in Spanish?
Yes.
Do it for us.
I'll call it. Well, gracias por escuchar la voz de Aroha. Espero que os haya gustado. Y síganos en Facebook, en Instagram. Estaremos posteando más sobre nosotros en el futuro. Y síganos escuchando porque cada vez más se vuelve más interesante. Así que gracias.
Gracias.
Thank you.
Mamá siempre me decía, ratón y queso, amigos son. No te confíes de nadie, que el más amigo te da traición. 20 litros de acetona, los microondas y un garrafón. Y que mi socio en la USA no se me tuerza, salga faltón. Allá se compra, se vende y se mete la mercancía por mayor, mientras que aquí se dan bala. Yo no sé nada, no soy soplón. Allá se compra, se vende y se mete la mercancía en Nueva York, mientras que aquí se dan bala. Yo no sé nada, ya muerto estoy. Yo le invertí una platica al submarino y no volvió. ¿Será que ese gringo marica es de la DEA y lo confiscó? Pero la suerte sigue conmigo porque el otro coronó. Yo ya recibí la llamadita de la línea en Nueva York. Falta que me mande los billetes pa' comprarme el otro avión. Pero la suerte sigue conmigo porque el otro coronó. Todo el mundo sabe en el negocio que en esto no hay perdón. Y si no, pregúntele a mis socios a ver quién es el patrón. Allá se compra, se vende y se mete la mercancía al por mayor, mientras que aquí se dan bala. Yo no sé nada, no soy soplón. Allá se compra, se vende y se mete la mercancía en Nueva York, mientras que aquí se dan bala. Yo no sé nada, ya muerto estoy.
That program was brought to you by Wellington Access Radio. Get your voice heard.
Thanks, New Zealand On Air, for supporting accessmedia.nz.